What's going on, guys? Welcome back to part 8 of building Twitter using UIKit and Google's Firebase. So in this part, we're going to handle the onboarding and creating new accounts using Google's Firebase. So without further ado, let's just dive in. So let's just open Safari over here, and first of all, you can just go to console.firebase.google.com. First of all, you can just add a new project. This is what we're going to be doing right now. So for this project, I'm going to call it Twitter clone. Feel free to copy the name because Google Firebase is going to initialize a unique identifier for your project anyway, so feel free to just type Twitter clone or anything you want in this case. So let's just tap on continue. And for this, I'm just going to leave this analytics for this project open in case we wanted to dive into this topic in the future. And here I can just select the default account for Firebase and let me just hit create project. So as you can see here, Twitter clone is done. So let's just type or hit continue. As you can see here, we're in the dashboard of our project. I'm gonna hit iOS, or basically this Apple logo, and as you can see here, basically this field where it asks you about your app identifier. And where you can find this, easy, you can just go to your Xcode. As you might notice, I've just upgraded my Xcode to Xcode 14, so you might just see a little bit of a difference in the appearance over here, but basically it's the same thing. So as you can see here, your bundle identifier can be found in here. So basically it's just like a reverse domain your name, or basically dot the clone, or basically the project name. You can just copy that from here and just go back to your Firebase and hit register app. So basically Firebase right now took the enough information that it needs to generate this info plist file. As you might guess, we're going to download this. It's a really small file that you can find instantly in your downloads folder. As you might guess, here's in the top. So we're just going to drag and drop this file into your Xcode project. So this is what I'm going to be doing. So just drag it under the info plist and then make sure to copy items if needed is checked, and also that your target is set for your project name. Then hit finish. And now, last but not least, we're going to download the Firebase SDK in our project using Swift Package Manager. So as you might guess, this is the next step where we're going to copy this link. As you can see, there are also other ways of implementing third-party libraries into your project. Maybe CocoaPods is one of the most famous ones, but we're not gonna cover this in this course. So make sure to copy this, go back to your Xcode project, file, add packages, and here you just can paste this link. And as you can see here, Swift Package Manager is really smart. It identified this as Firebase iOS SDK, which is what we're going to be adding. For this, I'm just going to set my dependency rules to up to next minor version. For some reason, that works better without any issues. Or basically, GitHub recognizes bug fixes as minor versions. So basically, I just need to have those fixes and all of this working without any issue. So basically, please consider to type app up to next minor level and make sure your version is 9.6 to match this video. Whenever you're watching this video, maybe some changes are going to be included inside the Firebase SDK. So basically, that's the version I'm going to be using. So now hit add package and just wait for Xcode until it fetch all the necessary code from GitHub so that it can work simultaneously without any problem into your app. Alright, you guys, as you might guess, the SDK has been downloaded successfully. So right now we're just going to include some of the modules that we're going to be using actually throughout our app. So maybe you can just scroll a little bit. So first of all, I'm going to check Firebase auth, also Firebase auth combine, because we're going to be using combine through this course. Firebase database Swift, Firebase Firestore, Firebase Firestore combine, Firebase Firestore Swift as well. All right, so yeah, And also I'm just going to use Firebase storage and Firebase storage combined. So basically this is the SDK, and this is supposed to be a beta test or basically a community version for using Firebase storage or basically all the other modules with Combine. As you might guess, Combine is a new framework that was introduced to public developers, I believe since iOS 13, and basically it's a framework that enables you to handle asynchronous code more efficiently. So I'm just going to say add package, and as you can see here, Xcode is basically indexing all the files that have been downloaded from Firebase. So now we can say 99% of our work with Firebase for now is done. And not last but not least, we're just going to go to app delegate, and as you can see here, I'm just going to import Firebase core, or basically, yeah, Firebase. Okay, what else do we have? So basically in this function, which is basically did finish launching with options, we're just going to configure our app. So let me just type Firebase app.configure. And right now our app is configured and it is connected to our Firebase application on the web over here. So basically, yes, this is the code that we have just written. So Firebase app.configure, that's the one. So let me just hit next and go to the console. So as you can see here, there's a drop-down menu which is called build, and we can say here authentication. All right, so basically our app sure is going to support authentication because this is the way you can just differentiate a user between the other. So let me just hit okay, get started, and the native providers that we're going to be used throughout this app is going to be email and a password. We make sure that this enable toggle is turned on, and then hit save. So basically, as you can see here, users over here is going to be like an Excel sheet or something like this that lists down your users with providers, created in, signed in, UID, and the identifier. All right, so right now let's just go back to Xcode project, and over here I'm just going to go to my home view controller, and let's just start by coding our onboarding stuff. So over here I'm just going to import Firebase auth. So basically this is going to tell us if we are signed in or not, and here inside the view will appear, I'm just going to check if I have a user signed in or not. So if auth.auth okay .current user equal nil. So basically we're just saying if the user right now is not set to anything, so basically we are not signed in, we just need to present the onboarding view controllers. So this is what we're going to be doing today. So let me just create a new folder over here using option command N. So let me just type onboarding, and inside of that we are going to provide some welcome view controller and also something to help the user create an account or basically sign into his account. So let me just start by typing okay, a new file over here. So basically we're just going to create a new view controller. Let me just call this onboarding view controller. Okay, we can just remove these comments. We don't need those comments anyway. So over here I'm just going to say view the background color is red so that I can test that if that is working actually. So let me just go back to my home view controller, and over here let me just initialize that view controller. So let vc equals to onboarding view controller. Okay, vc model presentation style, I'm just going to set that to full screen, and now I'm just going to present that view controller over here with the animation maybe set to false. I don't want to see the home screen if I'm not logged in. Command run. As you can see here, my new simulator over here is the iPhone 14 Pro. So it's now building and running. So the first time, as you might guess, might take a little bit longer because at this point we've just added like Firebase SDK, which is trust me, a huge dependency that we're going to be using through our app. So it just takes time to combine all of this and index all of that. As you can see here, it's building 700, I guess, from 1800 or whatever. So I'm just going to fast forward this until it gets run on my simulator. All right, so as you can see here, we get this red screen. So that means we have successfully checked for the current user, which turned out to be nil for now. This is really logical because we haven't created any user right now, and now we can see the onboarding view controller, which is going to look like this red over here. First of all, let me just start by coding the welcome screen, which is gonna have two buttons basically. So for this, instead of just initializing the view controller directly over there, we're just going to set a new navigation controller because this is going to be on its own stack. So UI navigation controller, okay, root view controller, and here I'm just going to say it's not basically, yeah, it's basically this onboarding view controller, and over here basically it's going to stay the same. So let me just hit build and run one more time so that we can make sure that this is working, and afterwards we're gonna start by actually coding the onboarding view controller. So basically, yeah, it does work. So first of all, I'm just going to navigate to my onboarding view controller over here and change that from this ugly red color, so it's going to be system background color. And now we're just going to code what you guys are gonna see on the screen. So first of all, let me just code my welcoming label, if you might say. So private let welcome label, and this is gonna be a UI label. Okay, so let label is going to be a UI label. We've just did that like so many times at this point in our course, so I believe you're just pretty familiar with it. So label dot number of lines is going to be 0. Label dot text is going to be, I believe they write on their website, see what's happening in the world right now. Okay, so label dot font, that is going to be a system font of size 32 and weight heavy. Okay, label dot translate auto resizing mask into constraints, that is going to be equals to false so that we can activate our auto layout. So label dot text alignment, and that is going to be center. Last but not least, let's just return the label. Okay, so over here we are just going to add this label to our code, or basically to our screen. So view.add subview, this is going to be a welcome label. Over here, just going to configure constraints like we do in each view controller. So let me just build this function, which is going to be a private function so that it doesn't interfere with any other functions. Okay, so yeah, let's just talk about the constraints for this for a moment. So basically welcome label constraints, and that is going to be a new array. Okay, so welcome label dot leading anchor dot constraint, and that is going to be view leading anchor constant 20. Welcome label dot trailing anchor constraints with the views trailing anchor, and here is going to be a -20 constraint in the opposite direction. Also, welcome label dot center y anchor, that is going to be centered in the center y of the screen. So view dot center y. We are just going to activate those constraints, and now let's just test if that is working. So I believe, yeah, that is basically going to work because I did those constraints before, and I'm just doing like copying or basically walking you through the numbers that I've just figured out on my own in my free time. So as you can see here, see what's happening in the world right now. Okay, I believe also we can set this label dot color, or basically text color, to be label, so that in the dark mode it's going to change to white text dynamically. So let's just test that and verify that is working, because developing without testing is basically nothing. So Command Shift A, and as you can see here, we can toggle between the light mode and the dark mode, and it is beautiful. So first of all, right now let's just create our create account button. So let me just go over here, private let create account button, and that is going to be a UI button. We've just did so many times. So let a button, UI button, type system button dot translates auto resizing mask into false. Okay, button dot set title create account for normal state, button dot title label dot font. Okay, and that is going to be a system font of size 24 and weight of bold. Okay, so button dot background color, and for now I'm just going to make an extensions for the colors in the future tutorials, or maybe if this one have a reasonable time. So for now, UI color is going to be with the 3 channels, red and green and blue. So 29/255 in the red, 161/255 in the green, and 242/255 in the blue. And for the alpha is going to be 1. Button dot layer dot masks to bounce is that going to be equals to true. Okay, button dot tint color is going to be white. Button dot layer dot corner radius, and that is going to be 30. Okay, so let's just return the button over here. Let me just delete this because I have an OCD or something. So view dot add sub view create account button, and now let's just configure the constraints for this button. Okay, so let's just create account button constraints and set that to a new empty array. So let's just populate this. So create account button dot center x the constraint, and that is going to be constrained with the center x of the view, so that it's going to be in the middle of the screen. Create account button top anchor dot constraints welcome label dot bottom anchor dot constraints 20. So that means it's going to be in the center of the screen, 20 points under the welcome bottom anchor, which is basically the bottom of the welcomes label. And now we're just going to specify the width as well. So create account button dot width anchor dot constraints. I'm just going to set that to maybe not a constant, but I just need to set that to something like equal to, I believe this is available. So yeah, equal to welcome label dot width anchor. So basically they are going to share the same width. And yeah, I believe that's it for the create account width anchor, or maybe it's just going to be something like a little bit smaller, like 20 points. So as you might guess, this are different ways of setting up your constraints. So basically it just does what it sounds like. So create button, I need your width anchor to be equals to the width anchor of the welcome label, maybe 20 points smaller, or basically slimmer. Okay, so create account button dot height anchor, and we're just gonna set that to 60. So we're gonna have like rounded button. So let me just make sure that this is the result that we're looking for. So let me just activate those constraints, hit build and run. And now, as you can see, we get the create button account. We just need to make sure it looks like, or almost exactly like, the Twitter. So maybe something like other 2 buttons over here, like a label that says already have an account. Maybe you can just log in. So for that prompt label, let me just create it really quick. So private let prompt label UI label. Okay, so let label UI label dot translate auto resizing mask into false. Okay, so what else? Label dot tint color, and that is going to be gray. Label dot font, and that's going to be a little bit smaller, so system of font 14, and for the weight maybe just regular, and let me just return that label. View dot add, okay, prompt label, and now we're just gonna need to set the constraints for that, so prompt label constraints let. Okay, so we can start by specifying the leading anchor for this prompt label, so leading anchor that constrains, and that is going to be constrained with the leading anchor of the view plus 20 points on the left. And for the bottom, or basically this is just so prompt label dot bottom anchor that constrains, and that's going to be constrained from the bottom anchor of the view, and it's going to be like 60 points upwards. We can just make sure that this is activated as well. And also before we run, we just need to add like another button. So we just need to add another button. So we just know the drill, private let login button. That's going to be a UI button. Okay, let button UI button. Okay, the type is going to be system button dot translate auto resizing max into false. Okay, button dot set title login for normal, button dot title label dot font, and that's going to be a system font of size 14. Maybe we don't need to change the weight or anything like this. Button dot tint color, and that's going to be a UI color, which is basically the same color as this, so we can just copy this color. Okay, this is not the most efficient way, but for the sake of the video, we're just focusing on more important stuff right now to return the button over here. And yes, I believe this is enough for the button, or basically the login button. So let me just add this button to my screen, add subview login button as well, and here I'm just going to set the constraints for that button. Login button constraints, so basically login button dot center Y anchor, and that is going to be the same with the prompt label center Y, so that they mean on the same line. And also I'm just going to set the leading anchor of that button, so it may be just prompt label dot trailing anchor, and it's just going to 10 points next to this prompt label. So let me just activate this as well, and let me just hit Command R so that we can see the result. Okay, it's now loading, and as you can see here, we have the login button. I believe we forgot to add the prompt label, or basically something like this. Yeah, it's added. However, I believe its color is white for some reason. So let me just make sure, or as you can see here, the prompt label doesn't have actually a text. So let me just add this really quick. Okay, so let me just type something like have an account already. Let me just hit build and run. Okay, just a second, what we'll see the results. So as you can see here, the onboarding screen is finished. Right now, let's just create the register screen so that when we tap on create account, we're just going to be taken directly to that screen. Okay, so let me just create a new view controller over here, and I'm just going to call that register view controller. Okay, and I believe this is a really clean architecture. Whenever we add the view models, I believe we're just going to make some altering in this architecture. So for now, let me just remove this and make sure to remove this comment as well. Okay, view the background color, and that is going to be a system background so that it works with both light mode and the dark mode. We've said that so many times during this course already. Alright, so let's just start by coding this screen as well. So first of all, I'm just going to say private let register title label, okay, UI label, and this label is going to be initialized like the following. So UI label label.translates auto resizing mask into constraints false label label.text, and that is going to be create your account. Label.font, and that is going to be system font of size 32 and weight maybe bold. And now we're just going to return the label. We're just going to add that label to our view. And also we just need two other things, an email text field and a password text field, because if you remember, this is the authentication methods that we have enabled from Google's Firebase dashboard. So let me just build this really quick. So private let email text field, and that's going to be a UI text field. Okay, so let text field equals to UI text field. Okay, something is wrong over here. So just a second. Let text field is equal to UI text field. Okay, I believe something is not working, or basically yes, that is working. That's the reason. So let text field is equals to UI text field. Text field dot translates auto resizing text into constraints equals to false. Text field dot attributed placeholder, which is basically the way that we're going to change the color of the placeholder, because natively this is the only way you can just do this. We're going to be using ns attributed string. So ns attributed string, we're just going to initialize that. Basically the string is going to be email, okay, and the attributes is just going to be an array, and that is going to be ns attributed string dot key dot foreground color, and that is going to be a UI color dot gray. So basically the text field that we're going to have, has a placeholder that says email, and basically this is basically the foreground color of that. I believe this is working. Yes, basically this is a dictionary, so it just colons instead of equal. Okay, and last but not least, we've just initialized the attributed placeholder. So text field for this, yeah, so I'll just return the text field. Okay, and for the password field, we're just going to copy the exact same field. We're just going to change that to password, and the placeholder for sure is going to be a password as well. And the only thing that is going to be changed over here, we're just going to say text field is secure text entry, and that is going to be equals to true. So that means no characters inside this text field is going to show. It's just going to show only like black dots or black circles, if you may. So we just need to add this to text fields as well. So email text fields and a view dot password text fields. Over here, we're just going to configure our constraints. Okay, private, or basically I like to do this under the view that loads. So private func configure constraints, and basically we're just going to give the constraints for this two, or basically three subviews that we have initialized so far. Okay, so let's just start by the register title. Okay, so register title label constraints. Okay, that is going to be register title label dot center x is going to be constrained the view center x as well. Register title label dot top anchor constraints, and that is going to be constrained on the top basically, and we're going to respect the safe layout as well. So basically view.safe area layout guide.top anchor, so it doesn't interfere with the notch, or in our case here it's going to be the dynamic island introduced by Apple, and it's going to be 20 points under this. Okay, so basically that's it for the register label. We just need to set the constraints for the email text as well. So let email text field constraints. Okay, that's correct. Email text field dot leading anchor is going to be constrained with the view leading anchor as well in our default padding or margin so far, which is 20 points. Email dot top anchor constraints, and that's going to be constrained with the register title label dot bottom anchor, 20 points as well. Email text field dot width anchor, that is going to be set with the frame of the device minus 20 points, basically right and left. So we can just add a leading anchor and trailing anchor in the same basically constant over here. We just need a real value or a real number, so that we're going to calculate this like dynamically. So view dot width, or basically view dot frame dot width minus 40. So basically it's just like going to be 20 points in each side. That is going to be the dynamic width. After this, we are just going to say email text field dot center x dot constraint with the view dot center x anchor, and for the height, we're just going to say height anchor dot constraint, and that is going to be equals to 60. Okay, now we just need to do the same with the password. So password text field constraints password text field dot leading anchor constrained with the view leading anchor as well, constant 20 from the left. Password text field dot trailing anchor is going to be constrained with the trailing anchor, the view, 20 points from the right. Basically, yeah, we can just remove this because we're just going to match the email text field. Okay, so password text field dot top anchor that constrains to the email text field dot bottom anchor. Okay, and maybe a constant of 15. We don't want to make like a large margin between the two text fields. That's not a good user experience. Password text field dot width anchor, and that it's going to be maybe the same. So yeah, view dot frame dot width minus 40. And now we just need to add the password text field dot center x, I believe, center x anchor dot constraint with the view center x, and here password text field dot height anchor, and that is going to be 60. Yeah, we could just copy this and we just replace the password instead of the email, but I just wanted to make it like a second time so that you can really grasp what was going on over here. Okay, so basically let's just activate those three constraints. So NS layout activate, and basically register title label constraints, NS layout activate email text field constraints, NS layout activate password text field constraints. Let me just hit build and run, and basically we forgot to connect the onboarding screen with the register screen. So whenever we tap on create account, we should be taken directly to this screen. So let's just do this right now. Okay, so let's just go to our onboarding view controller, and here in the view that load, we're just going to add this target. So create account dot add target self selector. We're just going to say did tab create account, and here is just going to be a touch up inside. So let me just create this. So Objective-C private function did tab create account, and here we're just going to initialize the register view controller, and now we're just going to use our navigation controller, and here we're just going to push this view controller. So VC and the animation is set to true. So let me just build, and I believe this is going to work. So yes, we can see here the create account. Let me just tap on create account. And as you can see here, we have create account, we have an email field, we have a password field. We can just toggle this on and off using Command K so that it does make sure it doesn't cover up the email and the password field, unless we could just have put those two fields inside like a scroll view or something and handle this dynamically with the initiation of the keyboard and the initiation of it as well. So right now we just need to add the button that we're going to use to set our account. So let me just go back to my register view controller and go up in here and start by coding this account. All right, so let's just do this really quick. So private let register button UI button. Okay, let button UI button type system button dot translates auto resize mask into true button dot set title create account for normal state button dot tint color is going to be white button dot title label dot font, and that is going to be system font of size 16 and weight bold. Button dot background color, we can take the same color from here. Yeah, UI color. So basically that's the Twitter bluish color. Button dot layer dot masks to bounds, that's going to be set to true. Button dot layer dot corner radius is going to be 25, and let's just return that button. So let me just add the constraints for the button as well. All right, so let me just type register button constraint. Okay, let empty array. I'm just going to set that over here. So register button dot I believe trailing anchor. Let's just do this trailing anchor the constraints, and that is going to be constrained with the trailing anchor of the view constant 20. So basically register button dot top anchor. Okay, or basically let's just keep this leading anchor as well. So leading anchor, I'm sorry, 20 points from the left. Register button top anchor constraint, and that is going to be on the bottom of the password text field. Okay, password text field bottom anchor constant 20. Register button dot width anchor constraints, and that is going to be 120 or 180. Register button dot height anchor, and that is going to be 50. And you know what, I kind of wanna have this button on the right of the screen, so basically I'm just going to set that to trailing anchor one more time, and just don't forget the negative sign over here. And now let me just have this activated. So register label, or basically I'm sorry, register button constraints, and let me just hit build and run, and let me see what we get so far. I believe that is going to work on the first try. So create account. Okay, we forgot basically to add this because they have like no ancestors basically. So let me just go back in here, register button. Let me just search for that really quick. Yes, we didn't actually add that to our view. So view.add subview, register button, hit build and run, and that is going to work. So let me just verify that build succeeded, and this is the simulator. Create account, and as you can see here, email, password, and if we try to type anything in the password, it's secure text entry as we have specified. And for the email, we can literally change the behavior of the keyboard as well over here. So let me just do that really quick. So text field dot keyboard type, and as you can see here, we can just specify email address. So this is going to be a keyboard which is customized so that you can enter your email address easily. So email, and as you can see here, it has the @ sign, the dot sign, which is basically anything that you might need to enter your email, your key numbers here, keypad numbers here as well. So that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we are going to handle creating account basically with Firebase, and we're going to add our network managers. So it's going to be a really good tutorial. Please stay tuned for it. Thank you for watching and stay safe.